Hey, Dr. Mike here. You may not have heard of GABA, but your body sure knows what it is. Stick around to learn how it helps you stay calm.
You're listening to Live Foreverish, a show dedicated to helping you live just a little longer. Here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal Gossard.
All right, welcome to Live Foreverish. So, Dr. Crystal, we're going to talk about GABA today, right? I'm not sure how many people are familiar with GABA, like what that is and stuff. But a very important type of neurotransmitter for the body, specifically in helping you to stay calm.
Dr. Mike, this light bulb just went off because I think you're right. Most people know serotonin. Mm-hmm. People know dopamine.
Yep.
But both of those, if you look at the different neurotransmitters, you've got glutamate, which is let's look at a pie chart. Glutamate's like 50%. GABA would give us maybe another 75% or more. It's like these are your primary excitatory neurotransmitter, glutamate, GABA, primary inhibitory, and then you have all those other ones that are kind of popular, like acetylcholine. People know that. People know serotonin. People know dopamine. Yeah. But GABA, it somehow doesn't get a lot of love, but it's a big, predominant neurotransmitter in the body.
Although your pie chart was off, just so you know.
Okay.
You said 50 and 75.
Oh, yeah. No, I meant, right.
I know what you meant.
Anyway.
Like you told me one show, we're human.
That isn't that the truth, right?
We're human. We make mistakes.
So you have 50%, maybe give another
30%.
30%, 40%. But you have 10% left over. There we go. Cleaned it up.
There you go. Perfect. So what is GABA? It's this inhibitory type of amino acid neurotransmitter. Mm-hmm. And I think I want to make sure we maybe back up just for a sec. In the brain, you have to turn on the brain at times. And you gotta. You don't ever turn it off, but you have to calm it down a little bit, right? So it activates, and then it has to kind of, let's bring it down. Let's bring it down a notch. And so you got neurotransmitters that feed into that more get it moving and grooving thing.
Yeah.
But then you got ones like GABA, which are like, okay, you've been dancing long enough, brain. It's time to relax. It's time to just settle. That's what we mean by inhibitory neurotransmitter.
Yeah, it's slowing down the transmission of those signals.
It goes from, your brain goes from to
yes.
Is that good? You like that? And so I think that's an important, just so people understand where this is falling.
And we're talking about in adults when we're looking at kind of its
this
role.
Is all adult stuff. And so the other thing, another way I describe this to some people, Dr. Crystal, about GABA, a lot of your strong benzodiazepines, those drugs that like Valium that really calm you down, guess what they're doing?
They're impacting GABA.
Yeah, they're enhancing
that
GABA
system.
Production, how long it lasts, whatever, in various ways. So you got prescription drugs that are focused on GABA.
Very true.
Yeah.
And they have a very calming sedative-like effect. Even like the muscle relaxants can impact GABA.
So so that's what it is. And we actually have good research when looking at brainwaves. What GABA is really doing in the brain. And I don't know if people know that. You know how if you do a heart EKG, right? It's the rhythm of your heart, sinus rhythm, all that. They put the flow in you, boom, 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 boom. Actually, that is called an ECG, but they changed it to a K. Remember, did I tell you this?
You did.
Yeah, they changed it to a K because the brain one is the cephalogram. So it's also ECG. So the heart one was changed to a K. It's kind of funny. So
Dr. Mike and his fun facts.
The brain ECG is the same thing. It's just measuring that kind of stuff. And there's these waves. And there are some waves like gamma waves. When you see those, that's constant. Their brain is like, you're on something. Beta waves, active, maybe a little too active, maybe a little anxious, all that. Alpha waves, relaxed, a little sleepy. Same with theta waves. You're more asleep at that point. And so what we see is GABA increasing those kind of like alpha waves, as an example.
The relaxed state,
Yeah.
the passive attention
Yes.
state.
So there you go. And that's just been studied. I don't know if we need to go in that particular study, but this has been studied, measuring brain waves in individuals, 30 minutes after 60 minutes after the intake of water, GABA or L-theanine, which is another relaxing type thing. At the end of the day, GABA was associated with a significant increase in alpha waves.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to kind of highlight that just as we kind of continue to go through the research studies. You'll see the researchers, when they're looking at the impact of GABA, there are subjective analysis, kind of the participants saying, yeah, I feel more relaxed. Yeah, I feel like I'm not quite as anxious as I was 30 minutes ago. But then the researchers can also look at this objective data and look at those alpha waves and say, hey, you know what? How you feel is matching the brain waves that we're seeing.
Yeah. And there have been a few randomized, nice control, placebo-controlled trials, right? Showing that kind of information. So again, GABA, calming type thing, and it helps those brain waves that are more calming, keeping the active brain waves down. And there's good evidence that results in clinical efficacy of calmness, anxiety lower, sleep better, all that kind of stuff.
Yes, and so as you mentioned, the first study kind of looking at those brain waves, now we look at a study related to sleep. A placebo-controlled trial found that GABA shortened the time it took to fall asleep and increased non-REM sleep time. The researchers determined that GABA blood levels were highest 30 minutes following oral intake, which led them to conclude that as GABA, and this is a quote from the researchers, as GABA strongly affected the early stage of sleep, the effect of GABA on sleep may be connected to its levels in blood.
Yeah. That's a really good study connecting it that way. We like that. Yeah.
Right. So that, the first one, we kind of looked at the alpha waves. Now we're seeing, okay, people are falling asleep better. And then, of course, there's this study where the participants also received a medication. So it compared 500 milligrams of GABA, 200 milligrams of the L-theanine, which has a calming effect, and 0.25 milligrams of the drug alprazolam. All the AMs are your anti-anxiety medications.
Yep.
And given an hour before surgery to preoperative surgical patients, revealed an anti-anxiety effect for all three treatments. Of course, the medication had the strongest effect, but when you're comparing the theanine, the GABA, that was 500 milligrams of GABA, to the medication, they all worked.
Yep. So again, we're giving you how it works, that mechanism of action. We're backing that up with the efficacy trials. And listen, GABA is something that if you have issues sleeping, issues with anxiety, talk to your doctor, right? Very easy thing to add in. So that brings us now in, well, how do I do that?
Yeah.
Right? So first, because we like to talk about food first. Tell us about the foods you found.
Yeah, so we're seeing that it's found in fruit, vegetables, cereals, and edible fungi. Fruit, vegetables, strawberry, lychee, tomatoes were the highest, had the highest amount.
I love lychee fruit.
From when you look at cereals, pumpkin seeds, wheat germ, barley bran were your cereals. So we see that these foods naturally deliver GABA.
Yeah. I don't know how much. Do we know how much?
I do know how much. I can pull it up really quickly.
You don't need to do all that.
The amounts were, but the study, and we'll make sure we put this study in the notes section because there's a nice chart. This was a study, came from Frontiers Nutrition, a 2022 study that compared the amount of GABA in food, and there's a table, and it gives you the specific amounts.
Yeah.
On a table in this in the study.
But even when we have those amounts, are you pulling it up? Or
I am.
Well, I'm just gonna fill in
Okay.
the silence because we don't like that in radio, right? You don't want any, right? No gaps, Robson. But one of the things we always we start with food first, and that's great. But one of the things we do find out a lot, not all the time, but a lot, is that the food just doesn't have those optimal doses, or you would have to eat so much, that it really becomes impractical, and that's where nutrient add-ins can be helpful.
Yes, you can, and that's so true, Dr. Mike. But I think it's nice to know, okay, at night, maybe I should have some strawberries.
Love it.
Maybe I should have some lychee. You know, especially people who have trouble sleeping. You kind of want to, sometimes you have to come at it from different angles.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, no, for sure.
Multimodal approach.
Yeah, especially people that have long-term insomnia, really have tried everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's multiple things going on at once, so I like that. And so as she continues to look up this chart,
I know,
to talk about how much GABA is in things like strawberry and lychee fruit and tomatoes, maybe even some pumpkin seeds, which, by the way, roasted pumpkin seeds, little salt on them, let me tell you, wonderful.
Oh, for sure.
Wonderful. All right, so we got the results. Here it comes.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're looking for the...
That's what we were waiting for. Oh, Robson.
I know. I'm trying to find it, and my table's not there, but...
We'll move on. The source
anyway.
is Frontier Nutrition 2022 in December.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Can't get to it fast enough.
All that filler. All right, here we go. Let's move on to then ways to naturally support GABA production. This is not necessarily taking stuff with GABA or taking it. Is what helps to produce it. And so we know, number one, and I know you like this, is adequate protein intake.
I do, because it's made from one of the most abundant amino acids, glutamine. Glutamine turns into glutamate, then you get GABA. So you need kind of that starting amino acid material. And so it can be made. I always also talk about B vitamins.
If I'm not mistaken, B6?
B6 is involved in that conversion process. So you want to make sure you have enough B6 as well.
Now, there are also nutrient add-ins that help to, not really boosting it, but helping GABA metabolize better, last a little longer, that kind of stuff, I think, right? Like, for instance, one of those is ashwagandha. We're still some research, but potentially binds to some of these receptor sites of GABA that help to activate those GABA reactions, right, in those pathways. There's some other ones here, too. I know you like Hinokio.
I do. It enhances the GABA receptor activity. I take that at night. It's very calming. I take lemon balm as well.
I do, too. I take lemon balm at night with theanine. Lemon balm specifically inhibits the enzyme that breaks down GABA. So it's helping last longer.
Yeah.
So there's there's foods to help boost it. There's some B vitamins,
like the precursor
to that. There's that way, and then there's also ways just to help it last longer, kind of activate those receptors and metabolism of GABA, giving you that calming, those alpha waves and the calming.
And then the fourth way is taking GABA directly.
Yeah. And I think this is fairly new. We've been in the industry a long time, Dr. Crystal. I don't
know. As long as I can remember.
There's been
20 years or so.
Oh, come on.
Okay, maybe not 20 years. That was an exaggeration.
You've been in the industry. Well,
but yes, taking GABA directly, orally consumed. I think what we're now knowing is more so how it's working in the gut. There was this idea that you took it and it was just kind of getting in the bloodstream and increasing GABA, but now we're seeing interacting in the gut, supporting the gut-brain axis.
Yeah, and that's a fascinating whole new topic. and I know we talked about that before, but it's so fascinating to think that things that go on in the gut can get to the brain, and things that go on in the brain can get to the gut. Remember, I've said this before. I don't know when I don't know if it was on the podcast or not. But when you study embryology, human embryology, the gut and the nervous system start in the same clump of cells.
Yes.
And then over time, they stretch along this axis. It's called the horizontal or vertical, I don't know, vertical axis. And now you have the brain up here and the gut's down here. But they're connected that way.
And they
share physiology.
They're still connected, and they communicate back and forth.
Yeah. So you could take it directly right there. Are you taking this now?
No.
I'm not. Were you thinking about it? Or do you need?
I don't know. Somebody, my husband kind of thinks that I already have too much GABA. He's just like, man, you're so chill. Like, well.
Or is he just revved up a lot?
I know, right? He's so revved up that I seem chill. I don't know.
Well, I don't right now. I don't feel like I do well with my regimen right now. You know, and this is where you have to, for people listening, you got to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah.
Where are you? If you're doing some things to stay calm or maybe sleep, and you're working a little bit, maybe this is something you add.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and it's great for episodic stress, but that's where we're seeing the research.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
And so I think that's where I think it's the beauty. I wouldn't be opposed of just having GABA around. And when you're feeling or you know that you're going into a stressful situation, then you take it.
Because it's not like melatonin. Even though GABA can help support sleep, melatonin gets you into those stages of sleep. GABA, once you're there, just supports it. Maybe you go to sleep a little bit faster, all that kind of stuff. But you can take GABA outside of bedtime.
To support those alpha waves to kind of make you feel relaxed, so then you can fall asleep.
I can see myself, I've told you this before. I used to travel a lot, right? And I don't mind airplanes. I mean, I don't get freaked out or anything, but they're not my favorite place to be. You know what I mean? Like, especially if I can handle anything under 3 hours. That's fine. Okay. I can keep myself busy. Yeah. But you start getting in those 4, 5, 6 hour flights. Yeah. I need some help. So it's either, a glass of wine, and I don't like taking the medications. Those, I get a little weird on that stuff. They'd probably have to land the emergency landing, get this guy off the plane. He's freaking out. So I can't do that stuff.
Okay.
So it's either a glass of wine, but maybe now it's GABA. Right?
Here you go.
I think so.
I strongly encourage you. I mean, the research supports it. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
And you can take melatonin and GABA together, by the way.
Yes.
You can. So that's one of the Google questions.
Google land.
So there you go. GABA, an inhibitory amino neurotransmitter. So it's a inhibitory amino acid neurotransmitter. That's kind of the full thing. Affects alpha waves, calming, sleep. There's ways to boost it, ways to save it, ways to metabolize it. That. Right? Great for episodic stress, if that's for you. Has a great safety profile. So maybe it is something for you if you're listening. By the way, you can go to liveforeverest.com, where we got tons of other episodes you can download, like, and share, and review. Please give us those reviews. And, of course, subscribe. But we'd love some reviews. Those are, because it's just how things are done now.
Yeah.
Everything has to be reviewed. So give us a review. It's right there on all your aggregates. That's at liveforeverest.com. And then our sponsor, lifeextension.com. You can, if you watch on YouTube, that's right there. If you go to lifeextension.com and use the discount code
podcast,
you get 10% off $50 or more plus free shipping and handling. So go check that out. That's just for a thank you. I'm Dr. Mike. That's
Dr. Crystal.
Thanks for listening.